What up, everybody? Blaze One Sports, and today we're going to talk about Conor McGregor and will he fight in the UFC again? Conor McGregor's been out since his leg injury for close to 4 years now, since his last fight when he hurt his leg, snapped it in half. Now, many reports have been wishy-washy on if he's coming back. Some reports he's coming back, and some he's not coming back. He did The Ultimate Fighter recently with Michael Chandler last year, I think back in August. And he was supposed to fight Michael Chandler at the end of that, but many people thought he wouldn't fight Michael Chandler. And they were right, he didn't fight Michael Chandler. So Michael Chandler is supposed to be next in line to fight Conor McGregor. And they could have fought at UFC 300 because Conor McGregor wants to fight at UFC 300, which is pretty much over with now because the card's already set. And he wants to fight at the Spear, I think, this summer. But Dana White already said no, he's not going to fight at the Spear, and he said no to UFC 300. Conor McGregor doesn't care who he fights. His possible opponents that he would like to fight, though, are Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier, and Michael Chandler. In a recent interview, he named Michael Chandler as being next, but he doesn't care who he fights. So will the Michael Chandler fight ever happen? It's possible, but I doubt it. And like I said, Conor hasn't fought in almost 4 years now since his leg injury. Dana White's most favorite excuse for Conor is every time someone asks him about Conor, he says Conor's rich. He has a lot of money. He doesn't need the money, so he's not going to fight, basically. And that doesn't make sense because lots of fighters have money, lots of athletes have money, and they don't retire just because they have money. Now, it's a reasonable excuse to, you're rich now, you've never been rich, and then you fall into a bunch of money, and then you get a little lazy or whatever. That's totally possible. But that seems like it's Dana's main excuse. Conor has a lot of money, and it's hard to get him in the cage, which is annoying to hear because Dana White says it almost every time he's asked about Conor. Conor's rich, he has a lot of money, so it's hard to get him in the cage. So we'll see what happens. And then he also says about Conor's leg injury. Conor's been out almost 4 years from this injury. I think Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman came back after the same injury way before Conor. So they didn't take as much time off as Conor did. So Conor has 2 fights left on his deal. And the rumor why Conor hasn't fought yet is because the UFC is trying to ice him out till he signs a new contract. The UFC doesn't want to give him his 2 fights, and then he becomes a free agent and goes and makes hundreds of $1 millions in Abu Dhabi, either boxing or MMA. And that seems like that's what Conor wants to do because Conor is going to all the Dubai, Abu Dhabi events like the Francis Ngannou and so on and so on. So most likely Conor's plan is to fight out his last 2 fights, become a free agent, make lots more money in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, boxing celebrities or whoever. So with the sunset clause, if Conor doesn't finish his last 2 fights after signing a contract, 5 years after signing a contract, if you don't complete it, you become a free agent. So that's what many people think. The UFC is not giving him fights because they want him to re-sign a deal, like a 6-7 fight deal before he becomes a free agent because they don't want him to leave. So instead of Conor getting his last 2 fights, the UFC is trying to ice him out. But then if they do that and they don't give him any fights, he's going to become a free agent coming up anyways because of the 5-year sunset clause. So he's probably just going to have to wait for that. Or if the UFC gives him an opponent, they're going to give him a tough opponent, try to get him a loss or 2. So he's not worth as much, but I don't think it'll work. So the reason why Conor doesn't have a fight yet, most likely, is because Dana doesn't want him to become a free agent and doesn't want to give him his last 2 fights. Conor McGregor said he's fine, he's ready to go. He's been in 2 training camps, and they fell through because Dana didn't give him the fight. He wanted to fight at 300, and he wants to fight in the Spear this summer. And supposedly in a recent interview the other day, it's not official, but he said that they got an agreement for him to fight this summer. So we'll see what happens. But Conor's saying he wants to fight and he's ready to go. He's fine off that injury. He just made Roadhouse. It just came out the other day, so he's done filming. So Conor's saying he's ready to fight. He wants to fight. And Dana's over here saying that no, Conor's not ready to fight and Conor doesn't want to fight. So obviously Dana's lying. Will Connor McGregor get his last 2 fights, or will he walk away a free agent after the 5-year sunset clause? Who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Who's Conor's next opponent, and will he end up fighting in the UFC again? Thoughts, comments, questions, opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Blaze One Sports.